Good evening and welcome to a very special edition of Black Press USA's Fire Broadcast. On October 4th, 2016, 7-year-old A'Miya Braxton was stepping off her school bus, and in her own driveway, she was struck and killed by a car driven by a woman named Karen Carpenter. Of course, not lost in all of this is that A'Miya was a 7-year-old African American girl, and Karen is a white woman. Here's the case that has angered so many and why more than 725,000 people have signed a petition on change.org to get justice for A'Miya and her grieving parents. Just to give you an idea of this case, District Attorney John Weddle said both the grand juries faced, he called, a tough task. Now, what is so tough about this task? This driver, by all witnesses' account, ran around the stop sign of a school bus, which in itself breaks the law, and then ran over this innocent 7-year-old girl, taking her life. This is what John Weddle said. He said, quote, "This was a difficult case. I know they struggled with it based on the questions they asked. When you hear about it, the first thought is the motorist needs to pay. I completely understand that. That's human nature. But when you start looking at the law and how it applies, it becomes a difficult issue." Difficult, John? Really? The claim is that criminally, the case boils down to intent. Did the driver intend to pass the school bus, or did she intentionally strike the child? Neither grand jury found intent, so neither indicted the driver. A'Miya was just 7. She'd just gotten off her school bus. But Karen Carpenter, for some reason, unstated reason, did not want to obey the law. She did not want to stop for the school bus with 7-year-old children on there. And the bus driver had the stop sign on. They claimed that there was no evidence that she was texting or using her phone at the time. A collective so what? However, one report said witnesses at the scenes stated that they had to keep Karen there. She was going to flee the scene of the accident as A'Miya lay dying in her own driveway. Mississippi does have what they call Nathan's Law, which deals with injuries caused by passing a school bus. She's not been charged. Tonight, I should say, we have A'Miya's parents, Charles Braxton and Andrea Braxton. They're live from Georgia, where they now reside, and I can't help but to think or imagine the pain that they still are going through. Charles and Andrea, thank you for joining us.
Oh, yes, sir. Thank you for having us on your show.
Thank you.
Well, we appreciate that. What's the latest? I know that you guys haven't stopped seeking justice. I understand that one of the requests you made was for a special prosecutor to come in, or the attorney general. What's the latest?
Well, they totally have denied us all the rights to do so. We were inquiring about that and was even trying to get funds and donations to do that. But they told us that we couldn't have a special prosecutor, or we couldn't have anybody but them. So they totally told us that we couldn't have it. So they violated our rights.
And Charles, why don't you walk us through when you found out what had happened on that day in October 2016?
Well, how I found out was I was at my job. I'm a licensed barber. I just left. I knew what time my kids got off the school bus, so I was on my way to pick up my baby boy. And a lady that used to live by us, she called me and told me that my daughter had been hit by a car. And so I was like, you know what? And so she repeated it. And so I tried calling my wife, and the first time I didn't get an answer. So when I called back the second time, That's when she went to the door to check and see, because like I say, we both know what time the bus, get to our house. And then that's when she saw out there in our yard, our daughter was hit and killed in our front yard.
And they have something called Nathan's Law in Mississippi, where you guys were living at the time where this incident occurred. We can hesitate to call it an accident because all the reports say that Karen was trying to flee, which suggests that perhaps it wasn't such an accident. And when you run around a bus that has kids on it with the stop sign, you hesitate. As a parent, I'm hesitant to say, I'll speak for myself, I'm hesitant to say accident or use that word. But Andrea, have you, or did you guys, I'll ask both of you, but Andrea, as the mother, could Karen Carpenter have said anything to you that could have even attempted to justify her actions?
At one point in time, I would have absolutely said yes. Just acknowledge that you made a mistake at the very beginning. I just figured that, if she just would have said she was sorry and served her time, then that would have been what it would have been. I wouldn't have been pursuing her. I would not have been even talking about her, because you said you were sorry and it came from your heart. And I'm a Christian, so I forgive. So I would have forgave her, and I just would let her do her time and let the justice system decide her punishment. And I just would have went on trying to rebuild my life with my family.
Yeah. Had she tried to reach out at all?
Well, a long time ago, I was a couple months after it happened. Somebody had sent me a text. I'm not really sure if it was her. I really don't know. Because it's been such a secret, because she's tried to hide her identity on Facebook and social media. So I really can't say who it was who said, "I never will forget the look on your child's face." She never said she was sorry. She never said, "I'm so sorry, I made a mistake." She never gave any explanation. But what she did say was, "I don't question God, and I never asked him why." And that kind of did something to me. It sent chills all down my spine. The coldness of that statement. It just would have been better whoever done it had not done it at all.
And it's unfortunate I have to ask this question, but do you think that if A'Miya was white and Karen was black, we'd be talking a different story right now, Charles?
Yes.
Yeah, simple as that, right?
The reason why I say that is it wasn't too long after that what happened with our daughter. Another child was hit and killed about the same way, and it was a white child. I hate that it happened to that child and that family, but it did happen a little bit after it happened with my daughter, and the person that hit that child was prosecuted, and it was under the same DA office that prosecuted. But just like what we tell people, if you do the research and of that DA that's back in Mississippi, you will see when it's dealing with our race, there is no justice. I mean, it's none. But like, if it's dealing, with the Caucasian, something gonna be done, and it's gonna be done immediately. So yeah, if A'Miya was white and if she was black, she would have been in prison.
Yeah, and I want to get your reaction, Andrea and Charles, to this statement from District Attorney Weddle. He's made a lot of statements that it just kind of stings, and I'm sure I can only imagine, I should say, how you must feel. He says the big issue with respect to the A'Miya case, as he refers to it, the A'Miya case, is that there is no proof Karen intended to go around the bus with the intent of passing the bus. There's a whole lot wrong with that statement in my view. And I'm not a law expert, but when you are avoiding the stop sign, you have every intention of going around that bus. I mean, what are we missing here?
Well, I think we hit it on the head earlier. We missing is the color. That's what I'm gonna say. But you're right. And that was the same thing we were saying. she chose to try to go around that bus. So, I mean, intent or not, she should have got some type of charge. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that stop sign, those lights, all of that is on that bus for a reason. Just like when we come up to a railroad crossing, you know, you got bells, you got lights, you got the arm that come down, you got all the signs to let you know something is finna come through, something is going on. So they can say, you know, she wasn't on the phone and all this stuff, but still. So then what was the problem? Why didn't she stop? So they still should have asked questions.
Yeah. And what was the interaction like with the Mississippi authorities before you began speaking with the district attorney, the police? Remind everyone, if you will, the town it was in, and what was the reaction or the interaction between you and the authorities?
Well, we was in Pontotoc, Mississippi. Our interactions, well, I know the sheriff. He came by our house, you know, a few times throughout this. He kept promising us, oh, we're going to get justice. You know, we can't let, he was saying he can't let this go on in his town and, you know, stuff like this. But at the end of the day, you know, we know that they both work together and all of this. And as you see, still nothing has been done.
So go ahead, Andrea.
Okay, and I would just like to add that the law of Nathan states, or Nathan law states, that you cannot go within 10 feet or past a 10-feet barrier when approaching a school bus. Okay, so the question was, and the question should have been concerning the district attorney's office was, did she pass the stop school bus? Was the school bus stopped? Did she go around the school bus? I could do that. Give me a suit and a briefcase. I can go today, tomorrow. I promise you I could get it done. What I can't do is just let him downplay it. And that's what he did. He downplayed so much stuff for so long. All of them did. And then on the initial police report, and the reason why they probably let this slip is because they didn't think that we were going to fight. But on the police report, she admitted to looking down, that she may have dozed off. So that's what she admitted. So my question is, how long was her head down?
Mm-hmm. One of our viewers, Annette Phillips, asked the question or makes the statement anyway, was she negligent? And it seems to be the very definition of negligence.
Oh, yes, sir. And that, like I said, we brought all of that up, but regardless of what we brought up, it was just like how we started out with this interview. The only thing that he kept wanting to talk about was it intentional or not?
Yeah.
Because we brought up all of that. And like I said, it was more like he was trying to find ways to defend her than to prosecute.
Yeah, we did, Black Press USA did put a phone call into the district attorney's office. We did not get a response. As of airtime, I didn't get a response myself. One of the things I'd like to pose to the district attorney, and you hear this said all the time in legal circles, if the district attorney wants an indictment, he would get it. He can indict a ham sandwich, is the legal saying, meaning that you don't need evidence to indict. So given all of the national attention that's, we're getting for all the other incidents like George Floyd, deservedly so, and Breonna Taylor, do you feel that your story did not receive the attention that it deserves?
Well, I'm not going to say it didn't get the attention that it deserved. I just look at it as, because the reason why I say that is, we was on TV, we was on social media. We did everything that these other families have done. It's just that in our area, our kind is so fearful. It will almost take, God himself to come down and shake that place up, because I'm I'm not gonna lie. I mean, it was a lot of people that did come out, that did support us, that have been with us, that still with us, and we are very thankful.
Yeah.
But when you look at even with Mr. Floyd, I mean, it wasn't just his hometown. It was states. I mean, it was people literally coming together. You know, they was tired. And, you know, it's just like what I told my wife and others, you know, I'm not gonna talk down on the people itself or it's like that right there. Why didn't they do this and this and this? Because, you know, sometimes I know it take things to happen and happen and happen. And once it build up, you know, things explode. I just want, you know, the right thing to be done.
Yeah, absolutely. We are talking with Charles and Andrea Braxton, the parents of young 7-year-old A'Miya Braxton, who coming home from school, she had gotten off the school bus. This is in 2016, October 2016. And a woman decided she didn't want to stop for the school bus. And she went around the stop sign, went around the bus, struck and killed A'Miya. And the family has not received any justice whatsoever. They've only received a district attorney who has basically abdicated his duties. In Mississippi, Charles, you bring up an interesting point about Mississippi, about the mindset of those who live in Mississippi, even the African Americans who live in Mississippi. Mississippi seems to still, in a lot of ways, resemble the Jim Crow era, certainly pre-civil rights. Charles, Andrea, what is the mindset of the folks, at least the folks you knew or know in that part of Mississippi?
Well, I'm going to start off with the churches. Because, you know, I mean, there's churches everywhere. They're supposed to be the pillar of the communities and stuff like this. So I'm going to start there. A lot of the pastors back that way were saying, well, they didn't want to get involved and stuff like this. But, you know, I started looking at things differently after that because, one, we supposed to be here for one another. Two, there was a child that didn't do anything wrong. I can understand if it was, you know, an older person or something like that, running the streets, doing drugs, doing all kind of stuff. And, you know, you try to help them, but they keep going back out there. Yeah, you know, I can kind of see that. But this is an innocent child that didn't do nothing wrong that day. Nothing. She got up that morning. She got dressed for school. You know, she went to school. She was talking to her teachers, her friends, did her school work, got back on the bus, got off, and then this happened. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, you know, it don't make sense to us. Why wasn't none done? Like I said, well, I know why it wasn't done, but still, you know, at the end of the day, you know, like you say, he talked about the law and how tricky it is. Yeah, it's very tricky when the one that's supposed to do their job don't do their job.
Yeah, and you mentioned, you know, for a time there were some support. I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, I saw a picture of Reverend Jesse Jackson with you guys at one point, or at least he visited the area at one point. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Okay, so yes, he did help. He invited us to come up and we spoke at the Rainbow Push Coalition and we got to meet him and we got to share the information. My goal through all this, with all the supports, everything, is just to share her story and just to let people know about the justice, because eventually somebody else is going to be standing in my shoes. And we need to figure out the tools on how to help them, because we were not helped. We were not helped by a district attorney's office. There is a victims' right fund that were ours, that was rightfully ours. And they did nothing to make sure that we received that. And we needed that. My daughter was just killed in my yard. I have to start my whole life over. I can't work. I've got to spend extra time with her brothers. I'm spread it so thin, and I just needed that assistance, and I just needed that extra help of security, which they were supposed to defend A'Miya, and that was their job, was to bring charges against the person who did not obey the law, which is Karen Michelle Carpenter. And she did not obey the law, and they did nothing to soothe my family. For the first 2 years, well, almost 2 years. We didn't even know who they were. We were trying to make contact with them and they didn't even return our phone calls. So can you imagine, as if I've said this, and I want people to really visualize this, can you actually imagine that there's a person that you pay with your taxes every week? It comes out before you even get your money. And this happens over and over and over again. And then you have to go out and then you have to vote for them and then you have to get them in here just for when you need them to actually sit back with a pen, because he actually didn't have to do a lot of work on this case. There was really not a lot of work. Like my husband was saying, there was really not a lot of work that needed to be done on this case. There's a law that's put in place that cannot be manipulated or supposed to not be manipulated to put this woman in jail. They did absolutely nothing. They did absolutely nothing.
Yeah. As I said, one of the legal sayings has always been that if a district attorney wanted to, he can indict a ham sandwich. So this at the very least, you would think should have been brought to trial. And we know that money, possessions can't replace a life. But have you guys considered taking civil action against Karen?
Well, as far as the civil part of it, I would just like to say that there is really nothing that, I mean, it's up in the air right now. That's what I'm going to say. I really can't really expound on a lot of things such as that right there. So it's up in the air right now. My main focus is to get her arrested. I mean, she needs to go to jail and she needs to pay for what she did to my daughter, because a person, and just think about it, a person who would run a stop school bus, who falls asleep at the wheel, who's not in jail, who still has license, is out and they are free. And then you have my brothers and my sisters who ain't never did nothing to nobody and they locked away for the rest of their life. Yeah. So she could be passing you while you're going to take your kids to school. She could be on the highway at the same time that your grandparents are driving. She could be on the highway at the same time that you're driving. And who's to say she's not asleep that day?
Yeah, Andrea, I really appreciate how you are explaining that, because it is a bigger picture, right? It's always a bigger picture. It's always that potential when you allow something like this to happen. Now you open the door for others to become victims, not just from that particular perpetrator, but from many others. We see constantly, in the streets today, we mentioned George Floyd and Breonna Taylor and others, the protests, right? Because people recognize that nothing was done there. And so what do we see? We see constantly, we just had a situation in Los Angeles, the news broke today about a young Black man being shot by police. It happens constantly. So if something is not done to stop this from happening, it'll continue. So I really, really appreciate you explaining it that way. Let me ask you, oftentimes when we talk about these victims, we tend to forget the victim themselves. We don't want to forget A'Miya. Can you tell us a little bit more about A'Miya, the type of child she was? What did she like? Did she play music? Did she play sports? What was she like?
She was an artist. She drew on everything. I mean, she drew on everything. When we were moving out from our old place, because I did have to move, we found little love notes. She had wrote us love notes. She had wrote stuff on her daddy's window that day. She was just a loving person. She was a stern person. She was a helper and a good helper. And the sky would have been the limit for her. The sky would have been the limit for her. Unfortunately, life was cut so short by a reckless, dangerous person. I never will forget her. And even in her death, she have touched so many people. My inbox is always flooded of people saying, we're praying for A'Miya. She was beautiful. We're praying that we get justice for her. Don't give up. And then people say, they pray. And that's one of the first things that I notice when people say, I've been praying for you. And I would just like to think that this tragedy of losing her impact so many people to think of other people and to put other people first. And that's who she was. And that is what I will always take away from this experience.
Yeah, and what was she like at school? What was her? Tell us about her grades and how. I mean, 7 years old. She was what, second grade? What was she like in school?
Well, in school, she had a lot of friends. The teachers did let me know that she was a good helper. She, even some of her classmates told us after this happened, because the school was able to come and sing at her final day, at her special day. And a lot of the children were saying she was just a sweet person and that she just helped them and she didn't judge them and she didn't make fun of them. She just had a sweet spirit and her grades was very well. And she took her homework serious. She really did.
Yeah, yeah. On a personal note, I got to say how this case has touched me. We wrote about this case recently again, and this is the case of young A'Miya Braxton, 7 years old. As we say young, this is truly a baby, getting off the school bus in Mississippi, minding her business, doing what she was supposed to be doing. And Karen Carpenter decides that she didn't want to stop for the school bus. She didn't want to stop. She saw the stop sign, the arm down, as Charles Braxton was telling us, and she went around the bus and struck and killed little A'Miya. We're talking with Charles and Andrea Braxton, A'Miya's parents. There's been no justice for this family. 2 grand juries in Mississippi refused to indict Karen Carpenter. Do you know how old Karen is by chance? Because there's been no reports of her age.
She should be, at the time she was 39, so she should be around 43, 44 now.
Okay, so pretty much still a young person with a whole life ahead of her, and unfortunately, that was the outlook A'Miya was supposed to have, her whole life ahead of her. Again, as I said, the case, a lot of times as a journalist, you get into a case and it bothers you. It bothers me as a parent, as a human being, because I've seen cars go around school buses and it's just upset me to no end. Again, we wanted to kind of get more in mind that you have other children. I understand.
I do. We do.
And what was the relationship with her and her siblings? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, unfortunately, we had just celebrated at the time, he was only 10-year-old's birthday. His birthday was October the 3rd, and A'Miya got killed October the 4th. And then her birthday was coming up October the 12th. She had a 2-year-old brother at the time. And she was really molding him. He has a lot of her traits right now. And I get to hold on to that little bit, every little piece, I get to hold on to it. But they had a good relationship and it really devastated them. My son, who at the time was 10, and I have to say this again, just celebrated his birthday, October 3rd. His birthday is coming up in another couple of weeks. And he will never forget October the 4th. And he does not want to celebrate his birthday, really not right now. Really, he don't even want to celebrate it because he know what happened the next day. So he's traumatized from that. He's absolutely traumatized from that event. However, my boys have grew, and they know that mom and daddy is fighting for A'Miya, and they know that we're not going to give up, and they know that we love them, and they love their sister, and they miss her, but they know that, mom and daddy's going to take care of it. Mom and daddy's going to make sure that there's justice.
Yeah, and here's a point. Is Charles still with us? We don't see Charles, but I wanted Charles to weigh in on this a little bit. Yeah, we kind of missing that smile, Charles. I wanted you to weigh in on this because, Andrea is making some great points about family. And here's the thing. And Andrea, if you could just kind of amuse me a little bit by making sure your face is close to Charles. And the reason being is because this is a Black family with the father, with the mother. They both work and they work very hard, and they take care of their children. How important, because we are always, I should say, vilified as, Black folks is either single mother, or the father's absent, or this parent's absent, or this one is on drugs. You guys are the American family, the quintessential American family. Can you talk about that, Charles, a bit, how important it is to have both of you, two strong parents there in the house, looking like what you do, with that skin of yours being a different hue?
Yeah, I mean, it's very important. I mean, we have been part of one another's life for a very long time. I mean, my wife, she was still in her teens. I believe I just hit 20. I just crossed over 20. My birthday also is in October, just like my kids. And so, I'm finna be 42. We have been married almost 20 years. So, I mean, and you're right. I mean, we just try to, just live the American dream. She work, I work. We try to do what we can for our kids. We love our kids. And so for this right here to happen, just like what she said, it really hurt us. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it hurt our other kids. It hurt us. And, it almost destroyed our oldest daughter. She's married now, trying to start her life. But she have really been here with us. She have really been, by her mother's side through all of this. She have touched people that I would never thought, that she could reach, but she did on her own. So, it did hurt us, but during that hurt, we never stopped. And just like what I told people, it was a lot of people say, man, I would have did this, I would have did that. Just like what I try to tell people, yeah, we all have our thoughts, but when it actually hits your house, it's something totally different. Like what my wife said earlier, we can walk around, we can hate, we can do the norm that people expect for us to do, but why? Just like what you were saying earlier, they already look at us as a certain way. They already think all of us, either sell drugs or out stealing or, whatever the case may be. But, we're not those people. You know what I'm saying? They could try to label all of us, but it's in every race. So, I just say, I don't, like I said, we just tried to live the American dream, try to raise our kids up. We have never been in jail, none of that stuff. We just want to just live our life, raise our kids. Like she said, we are Christians. We've even had Christian people that didn't understand how we was, dealing with this. They was asking us, how can you take this and how y'all still standing, stuff like this. And we give everybody the same answer. God, why go to church all these years? Why study? Why pray? Why do a lot of stuff if you don't believe in what you call yourself studying? Why?
Yeah. Well, and it's important to, to me, it's important for our viewers to understand. We reached out to Charles and Andrea. They didn't come seeking us. We reached out to them. Because the story is just too important. 4 years ago, A'Miya Braxton, off the school bus, another day at school, she comes home, gets off the bus, and Karen Carpenter decides that she didn't want to wait for the stop sign on the school bus, runs around the school bus and strikes and kills little 7-year-old A'Miya. And the district attorney has refused to take action. He took the case to 2 grand juries. Apparently didn't press for an indictment, and certainly did not get an indictment. And so Karen Carpenter is able to, live her life the way she's always been living it, apparently. And Charles and Andrea and their family have to live without their young, beautiful A'Miya. There's 725,000 or more. It's probably more now. The last time I checked on change.org, has signed a petition for justice for A'Miya. What does that mean to you, that so many people are reaching out and trying to put some pressure on the Mississippi authorities to do something about this case?
So our thoughts are we are so grateful for each and every person who signed. We are so happy that people are joining the calls, but it took some time for it to get here and just meeting the right people. People have just been pouring into us, just their thoughts and just letting us know that we're on their mind. So we are grateful. That means a lot. At the end of the day, we need more. You know what I'm saying? Everybody has to be a part of this because this right here will change the world. The reason why things are out of hand because nobody has been held accountable for anything. People literally think they can do whatever they want to do. Why? Because they're not been held accountable. They're not been held accountable. I would have been held accountable, and you would have been held accountable. I would have been held accountable. Everybody else would have been held accountable.
Yeah.
Of this conversation right here, ain't no doubt about it. Checkmate you out. You ain't got to have 3 strikes. You can get half strike and you still about to go. You already know that. So I'm just so grateful to have a lot of people in our corner.
Yeah, and I guess it helps. Now, earlier this year, I think it was this year in February, before the pandemic, there was a street naming or a highway sign or something naming. Can you tell us more about that? That kind of honored A'Miya?
So I get a phone call one day saying that there's going to be, if they could do a sign for A'Miya. And I had to think about it. We kind of thought that maybe because at one time, the little boy who got killed, they were actually thinking about putting a sign up or some memorial for him and making him the school face of school safety campaign. So that just didn't go over too well with me because I'm thinking, if you're going to do one like that, then you need to have all the kids on it. You just don't need to have one now, because I'm not even about to let that happen. And so I voiced some concern. So then I get a call about doing a sign for A'Miya. So we go to Mississippi and they put a sign on the highway up a little bit from where the incident happened. We met the people who wanted it there and they were so nice and we really do appreciate that. And every time somebody drives down that highway, I hope they remember to put their cell phone down. I hope they remember to slow down because unfortunately that is still a school bus stop. Even though it shouldn't be a school bus stop at this point, people are still letting their kids get on off the bus there. So hopefully this just reminds them of that and remind them that it only takes 1 second to take somebody's life. It only takes 1 second or a bunch of seconds, but I will never know because I don't have any access to any information. But in a blink of an eye, somebody could lose their life.
Yeah. Again, well said. How long was the school bus ride from the school? What time did school let out, and how long is the ride usually take?
Well, from where they went to school at to about to where we were living at, it should be about a 20-minute ride, give or take. There were alternate routes that sometimes the bus driver would take, just to drop certain kids off first or however, and they swapped it up. And then they changed drivers a couple of times. So anywhere between 20 to 30 minutes, maybe. I know school should get out about 3:13. And then you have the traffic from a big major manufacturing that's coming on the highway as well, or coming on that road, who slows everything down. So on a good day, it will take no more than about 40 minutes on a good day overall with traffic and everything.
So obviously, as good parents, you have the day planned out. You know what time she's supposed to get home. You probably have activities for her. She may have some homework. What was the day generally typically like when A'Miya got home?
Okay, so at the time I was in the bark of my career. I am a licensed insurance agent, and so I would make my hustle in the evening times. So I would wait till they get home. Steph would be ready. She had an older sister there who was she was about 20, 21 at the time. So she was there, and then she moved out to college. So then they put me at home. And so every day would be, they would come home. Of course, they're going to look in the refrigerator like little kids do. And they're going to see what's in there to snack on. They're going to knock on my door and say, hey, mama, we home. They're going to go, and they are not going to go in their room to put their backpacks down. It's going in the middle of the floor until I tell them to take it to their rooms. But on that particular day, I was just unwinding, just waiting, for them to come home and just for me to do my day to day. I mean, I'm the kind of mom, I cook for them. They got breakfast. They're clean. I'm going to teach you something. I'm going to school you on a couple of things. You know what I'm saying? Because I don't want you to be ignorant out here, but I don't want you to feel like you can't come to me. So I always try to well blend with my kids. And she was a girl, so there was a lot of stuff that I was talking to her about. She was able to take care of her brother, even though she never had to without my supervision, because we would always have made sure somebody was home for them. They were not left unattended or anything like that, because I don't believe in that, because I was left unattended. So I totally know I got to make sure that they're okay, because they're my responsibility. So it was just gonna be a normal day. We was gonna eat, we was gonna wait till daddy get home, we're gonna take baths, we're gonna go to bed, boom, we're gonna get up, we're gonna do it tomorrow, boom, we're gonna get up and do it tomorrow, because they were on a routine and they knew exactly what to do. And I don't get to do that routine no more.
Yeah. Annette Phillips brings up an interesting question. Annette Phillips is watching. She's one of our regular viewers. We always appreciate Annette. She's asking, did the police even give Karen a ticket? Do you know if they gave her a ticket?
They didn't give her anything. She didn't get a ticket. She didn't get nothing.
Wow. And it's pretty incredible. I want to remind everybody, you're precious A'Miya. I want to show that picture. We started early on with a photo of her. I want to show that photo. And just look, 7 years old. You got to be kidding me that a district attorney, anybody with a half of a heart, would see this photo and accept I'm not going to indict. When you see that photo of your daughter, and the prosecutor says, unless, and this is his word, some new evidence is brought forward, the case is closed. Once again, are you kidding me? But that photo, what a photo. Where was she when you took that photo?
I had just spent a whole bunch of money getting her a little hair done. And she was, when she was real little, she had skin issues and she used to dig her hair out her head. And so as she got older, I started, beautifying her a little bit and saying, hey, we're going to go and get this done. And we were doing like the little girly things. And so she had just got her some little crochet braids. And I know the sisters remember that, save some time on some hair, you ain't got to do it for a while. And she was so happy, and she just was walking around and slanging that little neck of hers, slanging that hair, and she just wanted to take a picture. And we said, well, let's take a picture. And so we took a picture.
Yeah. We have a number of people watching, and they're expressing what it says, Mabel Whitaker, Mabel. Unbelievable, she says. And so many people are stressing that what a beautiful girl she is, a light worker. Someone just posted, you see, again, I want to go back to what we talked about a little earlier. We've seen what's gone on with the situation with the police killings of unarmed African Americans, and we see the outrage. But we also see the politics, right? We hear the president saying something different than what most times and what it actually is. How much does the political climate factor in? Now, I know this happened 4 years ago, but how much does the political climate factor into getting justice, you think?
Well, I think it have a big impact on it, because think about it. If you got you can say your president or whoever, if you got them um, doing things that's not right and all of this right here, and ain't nothing been done to them. So I mean, the rest of them feel like they can do it. Cause think about it, I like the sheriff and all of them. Like what the lady asked earlier, did she get a ticket? No, she didn't even get a ticket. She didn't get like absolutely anything. And not only that, wasn't it? I think it was after that happened. The lady that what was her name? Hines, that Hines lady, she was running for office. Yeah, Cindy Hyde Smith. She was running for office, and Trump came to our state. And right after that, it was pictures where she was. It was pictures taken where she was with other Caucasian people, and they was making jokes and laughing about how they need to bring certain things back and stuff like this. So I think it played a big part because, like I say, they feel like they can say and do anything and they don't have to be held accountable for none of their actions.
Yeah, and unfortunately no one's been held accountable. Specifically, Karen Carpenter has not been held accountable for the death of A'Miya Braxton. Andrea, like you said, you're a hardworking woman. How much of this you carry to work with you? I'm sure you carry it everywhere, but has it affected your everyday, your work? Has it? How much? I should say, I know it is affected, but how much has it affected your work and your everyday activity? I think we lost your sound, Andrea.
Oh, sorry. Sorry. I just want to let everybody know we're working with the phone here, okay? We're sharing the phone. We're moving around a little bit. We're sorry, but we're trying to hold it for an hour, okay? Okay, so it at first, it really did kind of take me to another place. But then I am a fighter, strong person. And it just made me want to do better. It just made me want to wake up, and it just made me I just looked at life a whole nother way. All this time I was taking for granted that I would have her for the rest of my life until I die. And I took a lot of stuff for granted, but I don't take things for granted anymore. Actually, I get out and I hustle and I make it do what it do. And then I try to motivate others throughout my day. And if I may, I would like to just share a couple of projects that I have been working on, if now is the correct time for that.
Absolutely. Go right ahead.
Okay, so in June of this year, me and the Miss Talented Lord Story, we created God Works on Tuesdays too. And it's a book that's available on Amazon. And it's about my life story. It's about me and Mr. Braxton, because you asked a very important question. Me and Mr. Braxton has been through a lot of stuff together, but I can truly say that I have seen him grow. And over time, he has really grew to be this really important, strong person, which years before this happened, we both were struggling in areas. But when this happened, we took a hold to each other and we just had to make it work because we knew we needed each other. And this right here just talks about some of the areas in God Works on Tuesdays too that we were struggling in, and it gives great insight on about how you can overcome and what you need to do and how you need to hang on. Because in this day and time, people are giving up and they're throwing in the towels every little chance that they get, and they're letting their grief and their depression consume them. I used to be like that. Sometimes I still struggle, but I truly know that there's a plan for my life and a success story. So please support God Works on Tuesdays too. And it talks about A'Miya and talks about me dealing with that issue. Also, next year there'll be a couple of documentary films that will be being released. I'm making progress with that. But I took the worst thing out of my life and I made it work. And this was one of the worst things that has ever happened to me in my whole entire life, if not the worst. Because just my whole life has been consumed and there's been a whole lot of stuff, and I've had like a whole lot of failures in my life. And being young and being an African American woman, I have been just down through there with a lot of things. So I had some heartbreak and some experience already in me. And so when this happened, most people would have lost their mind, but I know that God has always been preparing me for this moment. And now it's just time to come up with it. And so we just ask y'all to just support us and just support Justice for A'Miya page. She has over 11,000 friends on her page. She's been shared on TikTok now. And we're just pushing. So we asking y'all just to get with us and just share and just help us be a blessing to somebody else.
Wow. And Charles, I have to ask you because, as a father myself, my wife and I have a total of 5 children as well. And I can't imagine how much you really had to be there for your wife and kids after this incident. How much of a stronger man did that make you?
Well, it made me very strong because, like, when all of this happened, I looked at my kids, I looked at my wife, and I was like, I can't be weak for them. Like, my mother, she had 9 kids, and we have lost brothers, sisters, nephews, and I have never saw my mother cry. She have been strong for us. And when that happened in my house, that's the only thing I could think back to. I was like, I got to be strong for my family. And one thing that I didn't do then, and I would never do, and my wife feels the same way. When that happened, we never blame one another. And that's one of the things that a lot of people tend to do, especially when you marry and some happen with one of your kids. You want to point the finger. It's easy to say, well, you should have been there. You should have picked her up from school or whatever the case may be. But, we haven't been doing that. You know what I'm saying? With our other kids. So we didn't blame one another and we just stayed strong. We prayed together. We prayed with our boys, with our other kids. We were just there for one another. When she started being, I can't say normal because we're still not just, back to how things were since this happened, but she have gotten stronger. And then when she, started getting like her strength back, that's when I started, trying to release a little bit, of what I had in. But with both of us down due to what happened, I just couldn't do it like that.
Yeah. It's amazing. And I think it's important to point out too, with the Braxtons, you don't hear bitterness. You don't hear anger. What you do hear is a family who is seeking justice, a family who is continue to hold on to the strength of moving forward, and I really applaud you guys for that, because again, as we talked about earlier, African Americans don't get a whole lot of credit for the family arrangement, and I have to tell you, Charles, you guys are dark in that room again. There we go. We need to see you.
There we go. I try to charge the phone up. It's been
that's
down.
okay. It's quite all right. We're about to wrap it up anyway. We certainly appreciate you guys. We do want to show our viewers a photo though of Karen, the perpetrator here. So let's bring that photo up. There is Karen Carpenter, the perpetrator of this terrible act, and so we thought it important that people know who we're talking about, and but most important though, we enjoy and love the picture of A'Miya. Just seeing that picture makes you feel that makes me feel your loss even more. What a beautiful little girl. We really appreciate you guys taking out the time. We know it's not an easy topic to talk about. We certainly at the Black Press, I know I can speak for our chair, Karen Carter Richards, the great publisher of the Houston Forward Times, who is watching tonight. Jackie Hampton, one of our board members, who is the publisher of the Mississippi Link, she's watching as well. Claudette Perry, who is our executive administrator in Washington, she's watching. And of course, our president and CEO, Dr. Benjamin Chavis. I know I can speak for them all when I say that we certainly are hoping for the best for you guys, and certainly would love to hear that you finally got that elusive justice. So thank you so much, Charles. Thank you so much, Andrea, and we'll stay in touch.
Oh, yes, sir. And we thank y'all for having us on your show.
Thank you. And everybody, thanks for watching. And Justice for A'Miya, you can go to change.org. You can sign that petition. You can also go to her own page. As her mom stated, she has a lot of followers, which is great. And her mom has a new book out. You might want to check that out. Give them the name one more time, Andrea.
God Works on Tuesdays too. And it's available on Amazon, and it's the Andrea Braxton story.
There you have it. Everybody, thanks for joining us on this very, very special broadcast. Stay safe and stay well.